Hello and welcome to the Sage of Tarn Alpha version 0.46 August 2020. So to follow up on last time where I did some touch-up and cleaning of faulty animations, as well as some shader work, this time around I've been doing a whole slew of small things. So, working a bit on the shader, designing 5 units as well as their interaction, creating the entire unit collision chart system as well as the restructuring of the code needed for that, as well as playing a little bit around with how to create sounds. So if we just jump into it straight away, I'll start with the shader. You'll see that it is permanently on right now. I've made the alterations that I was talking about last time to the camera, so we can now control where we look and give it a little bit of a... I want to peek in this direction, and I do so. Still a little bit dark, obviously, but we can play around with the light levels. I have increased the size of it a little bit so that it fits the screen pretty well. Also to account for whenever I circle around the characters like this, that the character is never... Oops. Don't look at the bottom. That the character is never like outside the sphere of the circle. The sphere of the light. Like you're not hiding in the dark region over here when you push it like this. Speaking of the camera though, I have kind of decided that I want to change it a little bit so that when you're moving about, it's gonna stay on you. So you can't like do this, because this is a little bit confusing to do. Like if you try to, I can move it very, very quickly, and it becomes very disorientating when playing it, which is a bad thing. But it is very great when you hold this and then look. So maybe I might actually change it to be on the movement. Some things to work on for the future. Let's discuss while he just slowly slides around here, I guess. Let's discuss the additional file system. So I've kind of reached the point where I need to add more units. Now I've been running this relatively simple collision system. To give context, let me spawn a guy. So if we spawn one of these, when I hit him like this, you can see I bounce off him. When he walks into me, it does the same, right? So that's 2 units with their 1 unique interaction. If you can imagine, I add a third one, which is like these 2 are the same type, so they'll obviously do the same. But if you can imagine 3 different types, that increases the amount of unique combinations, you know, by 1 more iteration, basically. It goes from, you know, two units that can collide with each other to 3 units that can all collide with each of the other 2. Long story short, when you have 1,000 units times 1,000 units, you get 1 million combinations. Now, I'm not quite using all of those. I'm using pretty much like exactly half. So that would be 500, like half and then 500. So 500,000 and 500 potential unique interactions. These are now obviously not made, but the default version of them is in the game. This causes roughly a little bit of load time in the beginning when the game launches. About 3 seconds, which might be a little, might be a lot. It doesn't feel too bad when it's on game startup. I had to move it around a little bit to make it feel good. But yeah, essentially, I should now have the capacity for all the potential combinations I ever want to make between the less than 1,000 units that I'm planning to make. And I'm going to start with the 5, as mentioned earlier, and see how it goes. Obviously, this is like hugely overcapped, and you can also cut it down. I can cut it down so that it's only like 100 by 100, which should in turn make it more efficient. But this was just to give me a huge upper limit, so I don't have to worry about it. Very technical. Don't worry too much about it. Capacity is increased. That's the basic of it. I have obviously added the new files that are required for this system to function, as well as new versions of the collision scripts that fit with this one, because it's a sort of a different system from the other one, but it's more, you know, streamlining the code essentially. Additionally to that, we can take a look at these units down here that I spawned, because they actually contain some of the sprites for the new units. Now, you'll have to bear with me, because I'm halfway in changing these guys to becoming one of the new units. So let's scale them up a little bit first. See if I can do this. Don't walk away from me, come on. So, now obviously they're not going to stand still. I'm going to try and show him off. You can see his face here. is a different sprite, and his centerpieces also. These two are new made. He has also gotten my legs, which I'm gonna switch out because I'm gonna do it differently. But I need to make the specific skeleton for his animation. Right now, as you can see, he's just cheesing it using my walking animation. He needs his own one. But those two have been implemented at least. Very, very simple. It was some of the last things that I worked on here up until this update. Let me just reset. And there it goes. That loading time right there is the 1,000 units being loaded in, or the 1,000 combinations being loaded in. Not sure if it's bad to do it this way. It seems fairly efficient, even though it is a bit chunky for the system to do. Anyways, let's see here, what else? I've streamlined the units slightly as well, so that this unit is no longer the old player. This is now, you know, number 0. The other one that you saw just before, these are number 1, and then it just scales upwards from there. It's just a name change. It doesn't really change what they do per se. Oh, stop. Controller, please. You will know what that is about. It's my whenever you see it like jiggle like this, see if I can pull it off. It's because my controller is has a huge amount of stick drift, which is really annoying. Otherwise than that, it still runs perfectly smooth, which is good. Now let's see here. You can obviously still, as I obviously showed as well, you can turn it off, on and off, which is useful when you go up. I'm still needing to play a little bit around with, if you look at the windows up here, they turn from being very yellow to very orange. And when we get closer, like it obviously fits and does it perfectly with the shader, but I should change it so that I can accept other lights as well. There's a lot of things that can be played around with that. One thing that I noticed for the new change for the camera is that when we start to move with additional speed, you can see the camera lags, the light lags a little bit behind us versus being, if I can force it, let's see, it lags a little bit behind, especially at the higher speeds. But the camera does still do what it did last time, that it compensates for the speed loss, or for the speed increase, so it'll stay on point. Not the biggest issue, but it does make it feel a little bit weird when you're, you know, going into the darkness. You're moving faster than the light, effectively speaking. Anyways, let's go through some of the bugs before we get to the sounds. So I have a weird one, because remember last time when I mentioned, or a couple of times back I think, let's increase this guy a little bit. Let's do this and then make him huge. Now if we look at the legs and where the feet are at, if we start to walk like this, it's looking normal enough. They're landing on top of the ground. But then if you change it just ever so slightly, oh, see if I can get the right one. Oops. I need to make a better system for this. I noticed that his legs go into the ground again. There. Did you see that? What the heck? What is that? What is that? So my correction system clearly isn't doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Now I looked into it shortly, and I'm pretty sure I know what it is. It's basically because we're running the correction for the target point and not the actual point of the foot. So that the limb kinematic that controls these two limbs, aka what makes it, you know, do the weird spin around there to make it look natural in a way. If we make him a little less weird, like this, the thing that makes it walk normally is, effectively speaking, what does it, because it gets a chance to change the position of the foot. Now I'm not sure if this technically is a bug or not, because I might have to leave it in, just because if I move the correction to the foot, it might instead scale the limb size. So that one is a bit, it bites itself in the bum, sort of. Not entirely sure. We might be able to not to just cheese it, but yeah, it's a bit, it was a bit weird, because I was like, wait a minute, I fixed this already, but did I? Anyways, moving on. Let me just reset again. I've found a weird bug with the visuals when the player starts, which needs more investigation. It's very strange. I'm not quite sure what it is yet. So basically, as you can see, the player falls down, because we spawn in the air. Now, if I take a longer time to load this area in, he will spawn over here instead, as if he's falling with a force in this direction. Not quite sure where it comes from, not quite sure what does it. We'll need more investigation overall. This is also the cause of another issue that I had before, which has been fixed now, where restarting the game would cause a black screen basically because he teleports way, way, way over here out into space where there is nothing, so we just don't see anything. See here, as well as it's got double fixed because I fixed see this green guy here has changed a little bit. He's a new version. That's basically we have one in the main menu and one here, and they feed each other some information. It's kind of nice to be able to hide it a little bit. Kind of like it. On top of that, we have the animation speed change fixed. I think that's from last time. Forgot to remove it. And that's basically about it. Now let me just quickly skedoodle the sound. This is like perfect timing. Oops. Okay, so for the final thing for today, not to make it be too silent, I found this sneaky little program, which is called, let me just double check. I can't remember what it's called. I think I have it in here, useful things. BFXR, which is a small program that can create sounds. So I played a little bit around with it. So let me try and give you the list of things that I have made so far. Now, I'm not sure I want to use this particular level of sound design. It's very 8-bit old school type. And you're going to have to forgive me if these sounds are a little bit loud as well. But let's just go through them. I named them all so that they have a little bit of context to what I feel like they sound like. But feel free to give me your opinion as well if you want. So access denied would sound something like this. Oh, maybe that is way too low. I'm going to give you another one with a little more volume. Something like that. It's just very, very generic. Let's do bang. It's a little loud, I'm sorry. Turn it down a little bit. It sounds like this. Then I have a buzz saw attack. I don't know, it can create some very, very strange sounds that are interesting. Engine operating. I'm not quite sure about that one, to be honest. Female NPC hurt. It sounds so weird. It's like imagine a gull and a small chirping bird at the same time. Then I have pound hit with echo. I kind of like this one, but I don't know what I would use it for. But again, it has that. It's like right. It has that very 8-bit feel to it, which I'm not sure I would want to go for necessarily. Again, it was just experimentation. Let's do the last 3. Power down. Sloppy eating. This one is very like ugh. I think I also had let's see if I can get to play this one. I called it liquid drop splat, but it is a little bit it's a little different from that when it comes to it. Come on. It is good though. Yeah, basically like liquid drop splat, right? That's about right. Let's do the weird explosion. This one might be a little loud. It's also extremely long for some reason, but the end of it doesn't have anything. All of these would need some modification to obviously fit properly, but let's hear it again. And one last time. Okay, there we go. And that's about it for this time around. Lots of background changes as usual, but we are lining up for hopefully next time. I don't know if I can manage to make all 5, but I'm gonna be working on specifically adding those 5 units as well as their interaction between them. That's kind of the goal at this point, because then we start to actually have some gameplay, as well as, if we jump back into the game, planning out where they should be in this first level. I'm obviously thinking to make this bottom area here the tutorial area, forcing you to exit up through either of these two channels with whatever is gonna be here, and then having some of these guys strewn on the side with the other unit, as well as the basic items that you can throw in there in that mix as well. And yeah, that is basically where I'm at this current point. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time as well. Take care.